Welcome to Utility Analytics Summit. I'm happy to be here, and thank you for joining us for a lightning talk. We're going to be covering Ready Player One, Maturing Your Data Management Reality. Now, if any of you have seen the movie Ready Player One, you get the concept of how the reality has changed quite a bit. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. But first, I'm Michael Covarrubias. I'm with Xtensible Solutions. Xtensible has been around for about 25 years. Supporting utilities. But what I like to do is introduce you to this little guy here. This is actually Devin. He's my 6-year-old son. I have 4 boys, all ranging from 6 to 21. And so he's at that age right now of learning, understanding reading, doing mathematics. But stuff is very, very different for him in comparison to my 21-year-old. So this is him just the other night. You see, he actually has the VR set on him, and he's actually doing some classes. So very, very different reality than what my 21-year-old experienced when he was 6. And that's the idea, and that's the concept of what we got to think about, and how do we apply this even from a business perspective of being able to change that reality. And so when we look at it and we talk about data, what you're seeing here is being able to look at what's a progression as far as a maturity model, very similar to the maturity model, if you will, of the reality of learning that I gave the example of my children, but also from a data management perspective. So what you can be able to do is look at this and understand where are you at in the organization and where would you like to go. And so we're going to talk today about 3 steps that you can take for managing that reality. 1, know and understand your data. 2, awareness of how the data flows. And 3, bridging design to implementation. So really taking these 3 items we're going to look at today and look at how can we take this to apply that to have a new reality. So 1, know and understand your data. There's been a lot of talk about data catalog and data dictionary, but it goes much, much further than that. You got to be able to catalog that information, but you have to be able to label that. So one of the things that we really look at within the solution that we provide from a data management perspective is being able to add those labels and have that label management. So being able to look at stuff like the system of record, the source of truth, the data owner, the data steward, where this falls in play. And there's a number of preset data labels that you want to apply, but you want to be able to actually create your own also. So in this example, we're looking at applying a new label of PII for customer information. That way we can be able to associate this with the different data. And there's a lot of different data labels you may be concerned about depending on your data management. But then it's really being able to say, yeah, I have my data catalog, but how do I organize and govern and maintain that data? And that's what we're seeing here is adding those different labels from a governance perspective. We may want to be able to apply that to that. So in this example, looking at house number, taking that label that we created because we decided that from a governance perspective, this is important. So being able to do that. Number 2, awareness of how data flows. And this is what we refer to as data mapping and transformation. Data always has to flow from one system to another. And a lot of times, a lot of organizations that we've worked with in building their data lakehouse and their data warehouses even, and their enterprise analytics solutions, a lot of this is done in Word documents or even Excel spreadsheets. And sometimes it's done in the technology, but now the challenge is how do I bridge across different technology types to have a common understanding? So what you're seeing here is being able to put in place a centralized mean of mapping from my data catalog, which is my sources, where that data is, to where it's going to go. And it's about capturing that information and the transformation. 3, it's talk about bridge design to implementation, and this is where build automation starts to come in place. We're managing the data, but at the end of the day, we have to get the data somewhere. So if I look at a data lakehouse example, perhaps I need to actually promote this model I have that I designed to actually being able to physicalize it, right? Where the data is actually going to be stored for my enterprise analytics platform, for example. So what you're seeing here is we're taking that data model, that logical model, and applying it to an actual physical model. Maybe adding in additional elements or attributes for lookup tables or something to that effect. But at the end of the day, I have to actually generate the code. So what you're seeing here is we're actually generating the snowflake instance of this model. So now we have it connected from our logical, our data sources, our governance of it to actually what's being generated. And in this example, what I did is we actually just generated the code and spit it out into a file format. But you can see here, this actually has it all generated and it's connected. So I'm bridging the gap. So why are these 3 steps to maturing your data management reality so important? Well, really, it's about looking how do you manage that. So, and bringing that together. And that's where the data lineage comes into play. So keep in mind, data lineage isn't just about taking data from knowing data is going from one place to another, but it's actually understanding how it's being transformed. And by taking this approach, these 3 steps approach, looking at the mapping and transformation and bringing that into play, now I actually have full data lineage. So now I can actually be able to look at downstream and upstream impact. So when you start to look at answering the question of, well, I need to change out this system, what's going to be the impact to that? How's that going to impact my enterprise analytics platform? You're able to answer those questions because you can look at the upstream and downstream impacts and how the data is actually being changed, which is very, very important, both from a business perspective as well as an IT perspective, to manage your data and maintain it throughout its complete data life cycle, if you will. So this is just one example of looking at the data management aspect. So looking at these 3 steps, knowing and understanding your data, awareness of how the data flows, bridging your design to implementation, applying those and putting those in place within your organization can really help your organization mature in its data management capabilities and bring all that together. So this is why we've taken the approach of creating Affirma, which is an enterprise semantic and metadata management solution to help facilitate those different processes and bringing the data together under the covers so that you can have a clear understanding of your full data lifecycle.